Good evening. This is All India Radio. I'm Abhishek Mukhopadhyay and with me is R.S. Raghu with the evening news. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi holds a video teleconference with his German counterpart Angela Merkel. Countrywide COVID-19 vaccine dry run to be held on Friday. Centre sends multidisciplinary experts team to Kerala and Haryana to oversee avian influenza containment operations. Control room set up in New Delhi. Country's COVID-19 recovery rate reaches 96.36%. Democrat Raphael Warnock wins first runoff election from Georgia. Control of US Senate hangs in balance. And in cricket, Rohit Sharma, Shubman Gill and Navdeep Saini roped in for the Indian squad for the third test against Australia in Sydney tomorrow. As the nation fights the COVID-19 pandemic, we begin with a message of precaution to stay safe and protected by following these three simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing, focus on hand and face hygiene. And now the news. Prime Minister Narendra Modi today held a video teleconference with his German counterpart, Federal Chancellor Dr. Angela Merkel. Mr. Modi appreciated the long-standing role of Chancellor Merkel in providing stable and strong leadership at the European and global stage and thanked her for guiding the growth of the India-Germany strategic partnership. The two leaders discussed key issues of mutual importance, including the response to the COVID-19 pandemic, bilateral ties, regional and global issues, particularly India-EU relations. The Prime Minister briefed Chancellor Merkel on the developments in India with regard to vaccine development and assured Chancellor Merkel of India's commitment to deploy its capacities for the benefit of the world. Mr. Modi conveyed his best wishes for early containment of the new wave of infections in Germany and other European countries. He welcomed Germany's decision to join the International Solar Alliance, ISA, and expressed his desire to further strengthen cooperation with Germany under the platform of Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, CDRI. Noting that this year marks the 70th anniversary of setting up of bilateral relations between India and Germany and the 20th anniversary of the strategic partnership, the two leaders agreed to hold the 6th intergovernmental consultations at an early date in 2021 and to set an ambitious agenda for the same. India and France will hold the annual strategic dialogue in New Delhi tomorrow. National Security Advisor Ajit Doval will lead the Indian delegation, while the French delegation will be led by Emmanuel Bon, diplomatic advisor to the French President. In a statement, External Affairs Ministry said the two sides will hold discussions on wide-ranging bilateral and global issues. Mr. Bon will also call on other Indian dignitaries. The last edition of the Strategic Dialogue was held in February last year in Paris.
The Union Cabinet chaired by Prime Minister Narendra Modi has approved the signing of a memorandum of cooperation between India and Japan on a basic framework for partnership for proper operation of the system pertaining to specified skilled worker. The memorandum of cooperation would set an institutional mechanism for partnership and cooperation between India and Japan on sending and accepting skilled Indian workers who have qualified the required skill and Japanese language test to work in 14 specified sectors in Japan. These Indian workers would be granted a new status of residence of specified skilled worker by the government of Japan. In a massive countrywide exercise, another mock drill on COVID-19 vaccine administration will be conducted in all states and union territories on Friday. Health Ministry said this drive will ensure efficient planning and management for vaccine delivery in each district of all states and UTs. Each district will identify 3 types of sessions, sites similar to the previous dry run, including a public health facility, private health facility, and rural or urban outreach site. The ministry said central government is gearing up for the rollout of COVID-19 vaccine across the country. 2 COVID vaccines have been given emergency use authorization by the Drugs Controller General of India recently. To facilitate the entire vaccination process, a software, CoWIN, has been developed by the Health Ministry for real-time information of vaccine stocks, their storage, temperature, and individualized tracking of beneficiary for COVID-19 vaccine. The software will assist the program managers across all levels in conduct of the vaccination sessions. A dedicated 24/7 call center has also been established for technical queries of COVID users. The cold chain infrastructure along with sufficient supplies of syringes and other logistics have been ensured to begin COVID-19 vaccination drive. Around 1,70,000 vaccinators and 3 lakh vaccination team members have been trained on the process to be followed at the vaccination sites. This include beneficiary verification, vaccination, cold chain and logistics management, biomedical waste management and reporting on COVID software. In this regard, a meeting of Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan with the state and UT Health Ministers is scheduled tomorrow to guide them on the conduct of dry run. The entire planning of the vaccination drive, including beneficiary registration, micro-planning and vaccination at the planned session site, will be tested under the leadership of District Collector and District Magistrate. The dry run will also familiarize the state, district, block and hospital level officers on all aspects of COVID-19 rollout. This activity will help administrators in strengthening the linkages between planning, implementation and reporting mechanisms, identification of any residual challenges prior to the actual implementation. The dry run will also provide confidence to the program managers at all levels to carry out a smooth implementation of the vaccination drive.
In Assam, dry run of the COVID-19 vaccination will be held at 3 health institutes in each district. A total of 25 beneficiaries will be invited to each centre. Apart from the dry run, 3 days training to health workers will be given from tomorrow, covering 12,000 nurses. So far, 1.75 lakh frontline workers, including health workers, ASHA and Anganwadi workers, have registered themselves for the COVID vaccination. The country's COVID-19 recovery rate is increased to 96.36%. To the last 24 hours, a total of 21,314 COVID patients recovered. Health Ministry said the total number of recoveries has gone up to 99,97,272. The actual caseload currently comprises only 2.19% of the total positive cases. Presently, the total number of active cases in the country is around 2,27,000. In the last 24 hours, 18,088 new cases were reported, taking the total number of positive cases in the country to over 1,03,74,000. The ministry said currently India's case fatality rate is at 1.45%, which is one of the lowest globally. In the same time period, 264 deaths were reported, taking the toll to 1,50,114.
In Puducherry, the downward trend in COVID-19 infection continued with 34 new cases being reported today. More from our Puducherry correspondent.
The Health Department statistics revealed that 22 new cases reported from Puducherry, 8 from Karaikal, 4 cases from Mahe region. No death was reported from the 4 regions of the Union Territory today. Meanwhile, 35 persons were discharged from hospital. Presently, 157 persons are being treated in hospital and another 215 positive cases are under home isolation with a total of 372 cases in the Union Territory. And now, the recovery rate stands at 97.37% and the fatality rate comes down to 1.66%. Chandramohan, Air News, Puducherry.
The Gujarat government has decided to reopen all the schools for class 10th and 12th students from 11th of January. This decision has been taken in a cabinet meeting held this afternoon in Gandhinagar. Earlier, the state government had decided to reopen schools from 23rd November last year, but postponed this decision following a spike in COVID-19 cases. More from our Ahmedabad correspondent.
According to the State Education Minister Bhupendra Singh Chudasama, the final year class for the undergraduate and postgraduate students will also start from 11th January. He said that attendance will not be compulsory and online teachings will also continuing simultaneously. He said that parents' written consent will be necessary for the students who want to attend the schools. COVID-19 protocols are compulsory for the students. Denying any possibility of granting mass promotion to the students, he said that exams will be conducted for whatever syllabus taught. Yogesh Pandya, Air News, Ahmedabad.
You are listening to the evening news on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Prime Minister Narendra Modi holds a video teleconference with his German counterpart Angela Merkel. Countrywide COVID-19 vaccine dry run to be held on Friday. Centre sends multidisciplinary experts team to Kerala and Haryana to oversee avian influenza containment operations. Control room set up in New Delhi. Country's COVID-19 recovery rate reaches 96.36%. Democrat Raphael Warnock wins first run-off election from Georgia. Control of US Senate hangs in balance. And in cricket, Rohit Sharma, Shubham Gill and Navdeep Saini roped in for Indian squad for third test against Australia in Sydney tomorrow. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
चलो मिलकर एक शुरुआत करें, चलो एक फैसला आज करें, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे, चलो एक इरादा करते हैं, चलो खुद से वादा करते हैं, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे.
Centres deployed multidisciplinary teams to avian influenza-affected Alapura and Kottayam districts in Kerala and Panchkula districts in Haryana. The two multidisciplinary teams comprise of experts from National Centre for Disease Control, National Institute of Virology, PGIMER, Chandigarh, RML Hospital, New Delhi, and Lady Hardinge Medical College. A high-level team comprising Director, NCDC and Joint Secretary and COVID-19 Nodal Officer, Ministry of Food Processing Industries has been deployed to Kerala to oversee the implementation of avian influenza containment operations and guide state health departments in mounting appropriate public health interventions for the same. In addition, this high-level team will also review the COVID-19 situation in the state. The Health Ministry said that the Department of Animal Husbandry had notified on Monday detection of avian influenza H5N8 in samples of dead ducks from Alapura and Kottayam districts in Kerala. This has been detected among crows in Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan, and among migratory birds in Himachal Pradesh, and among ducks in Kerala. No case has been detected in chickens. Department of Animal Husbandry has issued detailed advisory to states to further intensify surveillance to detect any case in poultry birds. The ministry said it is keeping a strict watch over the evolving scenario. A control room has been set up in New Delhi to keep watch on the situation and to take stock on the daily basis of preventive and control measures undertaken by the state authorities regarding the flu. We now go over live to our correspondent Mayusha in Thiruvananthapuram for the latest update on the bird flu in Kerala. Mayusha, what is the bird flu situation in Kerala and what steps have been taken by the state government to contain the spread?
Yes, Abhishek, the state government had already declared the infection as a state disaster. Culling of domestic birds is being carried out by the health workers in protective suits in infection-hit regions of Alapura and Kottayam districts. There is also a ban on trading of domestic birds till further notice in the two districts. Meanwhile, the State Minister for Forest, Animal Husbandry and Dairy Development, Mr. K. Raju, has informed that a central team will be visiting the infection-hit regions tomorrow. They will take stock of the situation and will also be looking into the possibility of the bird flu viral infection transmitting to humans.
Right, Mayusha, what has been done to enlighten the people about not to panic about the disease?
Yes, Abhishek, the state government authorities have informed that all necessary steps are being taken to contain the spread of infection and asked people not to panic but to remain in high alert. Meanwhile, the state government has also announced relief for affected farmers. Rupees 200 will be given for every over 2-month-old domestic birds that died of infection or culled, and those below 2 months old will be compensated with rupees 100 each. Per egg compensation of rupees 5 is also announced. Yes, Abhishek.
Thank you, Mayusha, for that update. We now have with us a Bhopal correspondent, Pooja Vardhan, for the bird flu situation update in Madhya Pradesh. Pooja, what update do you have from the Chief Minister's meeting regarding bird flu this morning?
Abhishek, as you said, Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan called an emergency meeting regarding bird flu today morning, and he has informed the officials to implement the guideline issued by Government of India. As a major decision in today's meeting, it was decided that trading of poultry will be restricted from southern states, including Kerala, for a limited period. And Chief Minister has made it clear that this is only a temporary restriction, only as a precautionary measure. And state department officials have informed that the daily updates of bird flu in the state is being conveyed to the Government of India. The good point is that till now there is no reports of any unnatural deaths from poultry farms in affected districts in Madhya Pradesh.
Right. Pooja, what preparations have been made to deal with the bird flu in the state?
Abhishek, Chief Minister has said very clearly that steps are only preventive in nature and people should not panic in the state. The staff of the Department of Animal Husbandry is taking a full vigil in the districts upon receipt of information of disease or any unnatural death in the chicken. Instructions have been issued to collect the samples immediately. Disinfection and sanitization of the infected place is also being carried out. And for public awareness also, necessary information about the prevention of diseases is being circulated in media. Abhishek.
Thank you, Pooja, for that update. Speaking exclusively to All India Radio, Atul Chaturvedi, Secretary, Department of Animal Husbandry, said that there is no evidence to suggest that consumption of poultry or eggs fit for human consumption could transmit the bird flu virus.
ये जो बीमारी है इससे ना तो अंडा खाने में ना मुर्गी का मांस खाने में कोई रोक टोक है क्योंकि दोनों चीज कोई कच्चा नहीं खाता है और इसके द्वारा इन्फेक्शन नहीं फैलता है। तो हम लोग हर स्टेट को ये बताया है और हर स्टेट को ये भी रिक्वेस्ट किया है कि आप ही अपने माध्यमों के द्वारा इसकी पब्लिसिटी करें कि ये बर्ड फ्लू के कारण जो लोग हैं वो अंडा या मांस खाने के ऊपर में कोई रोक नहीं है अगर वो लोग खाना चाहते हैं तो।
The avian influenza infection in humans has not been reported in India as yet. Though the disease is zoonotic, there is no direct evidence that viruses can be transmitted to humans via the consumption of contaminated poultry products. For detailed discussion on preventive measures for bird flu, listen to a Spotlight program tonight at 9:15 p.m. on FM Gold. This interview will also be available on News on AIR app and all our digital platforms.
Karnataka has sounded high alert after H5N8 avian influenza was found confirmed in Alappuzha and Kottayam in Kerala. The Minister for Animal Husbandry in the state, Prabhu Chauhan, has said today that to prevent the flu from spreading into Karnataka, high alert is sounded in all the districts and survey of birds will commence soon. More from our Bengaluru correspondent.
The Animal Husbandry Minister has said that no incidents of bird flu are found in Karnataka. However, Dakshin Kannada, Kodagu, Mysuru and Chamarajanagar districts that are closer to the Kerala border have been asked to be extra cautious. Mr. Chauhan said protocols are being laid to deal with the influenza and for its prevention. The checkpost in Kerala-Karnataka border will prohibit entry of poultry into Karnataka. Vehicles entering the state from Kerala will be disinfected. At random, specimens will be collected from birds along with changes in temperature and sent to lab. The bird sanctuaries are put on high alert. Deaths of birds have to be reported immediately. Biosecurity measures are taken up as the bird flu can spread to humans. Sudhindra, AIR News, Bengaluru.
Telangana state government has put the animal husbandry officials on alert in the wake of bird flu cases appearing in a few states. State Animal Husbandry Minister Talasani Srinivas Yadav today said there is no trace of bird flu in Telangana and there is no need for people to panic. After an emergency review meeting held in Hyderabad today, the minister directed officials to take all precautionary measures relating to bird flu.
In Tamil Nadu, the district collector of Namakkal, Dr. Meghraj, has said that 45 teams have been formed to monitor bird flu situation in the district. Speaking to newsmen today, he told that the team members include poultry farm owners, officials of the veterinary department, forestry, health and local officials. The collector told that there was no incidence of bird flu in Namakkal, capital of poultry industry in the state. The district administrations of Kanyakumari and western districts are maintaining vigil even as vehicles from the neighbouring state of Kerala have been sprayed with chlorine dioxide. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will dedicate to the nation the 306-kilometre new Rewari-New Madar section of the Western Dedicated Freight Corridor tomorrow. He will also flag off the world's first double-stack, long-haul, 1.5-kilometre long container train hauled by electric traction from New Ateli, New Kishangarh during the event. The corridor consists of 9 newly built dedicated freight corridor stations, which includes 3 junction stations in New Rewari, New Ateli and New Fulera.
Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman today reviewed the progress of National Infrastructure Pipeline NIP implementation in New Delhi. The agenda of the meeting was to discuss the progress of NIP projects, expenditure incurred so far and the initiatives taken to expedite the project implementation. This was the second review meeting by the Finance Minister with various ministries and departments to monitor and accelerate NIP project implementation. Despite the COVID pandemic, the NIP has managed to achieve substantial progress. The NIP was launched with 6,835 projects, which is now expanded to more than 7,300 projects. Health Minister Dr. Husbandry today released India Report on Longitudinal Aging Study of India, LASI Wave 1 on the virtual platform. LASI is a full-scale national survey of scientific investigation of the health, economic and social determinants and consequences of population aging in India. Highlighting the importance of the report, Dr. Husbandry said in 2011 census, the 60-plus population accounted for 8.6% of India's population, accounting for 103 million elderly people, growing at around 3% annually. The number of elderly age population will rise to 319 million in 2050. He said 75% of the elderly people suffer from some chronic diseases. 40% of the elderly people have one or the other disability and 20% have issues related to mental health. The minister said this report will provide base for national and state level programs and policies for elderly population. The National Program for Health Care of Elderly Ministry of Health and Family Welfare has undertaken the LASI through International Institute for Population Sciences, Mumbai, in collaboration with Harvard School of Public Health, University of Southern California, United Nations Population Fund and National Institute on Aging.
The News Services Division brings glimpses of the year that was in a special series Year-Ender. The government has given priority to the welfare of tribal communities and taken several measures. During last year, there was considerable progress in digital mechanisms and online monitoring systems, especially for scholarship schemes and expenditure of funds for tribal welfare. Tribal medicine emerged as another priority area along with tribal research. On 22nd November last year, while laying the foundation stone of rural drinking water supply projects in Uttar Pradesh, Prime Minister Narendra Modi had said the welfare schemes are reaching the tribal regions under special projects. He added that hundreds of Ekalavya model schools are operating in the country.
जनजातीय युवाओं की शिक्षा के लिए देश में सैकड़ों नए एकलव्य मॉडल आवासीय स्कूल स्वीकृत किए गए हैं। इसमें हमारे आदिवासी इलाकों के बच्चों को हॉस्टल की सुविधा उपलब्ध होगी। कोशिश ये है कि हर आदिवासी बाहुल्य ब्लॉक तक इस व्यवस्था को पहुंचाया जाए। पढ़ाई के साथ साथ कमाई की संभावनाएं भी तलाशी जा रही हैं।
Our correspondent takes a look at various steps taken by Tribal Affairs Ministry.
The stepping up of expansion of Eklavya model residential schools and empowerment of tribals through schemes like Vandhan Yojana and Adi Mahotsav remained on front during last year. Tech for Tribal initiative has been launched for capacity building and imparting entrepreneurship skill tribal forest produce gatherers. The government has also made sweeping changes in the existing list of minor forest produce covered under minimum support price as well as upward revision of MSP of 49 items of MFP in view of COVID-19 pandemic. As many as 23 additional MFP items have been included in the MSP list. The increase in MSP as well as expansion of list of covered items under MFP gave the much needed momentum for procurement of minor tribal produce this year. Besides, the Gold program has been started for digital skilling of tribal youth across India in partnership with Facebook. The program envisages to act as a catalyst to explore hidden talents of tribal youth. It intends to upskill and empower 5,000 tribal youths in the current phase to harness the full potential of digital platforms and tools to learn new ways of doing business. The Tribal Health and Nutrition Portal SWAST has been launched to provide all health and nutrition related information of tribal population at a single platform. The Ministry of Tribal Affairs and Indian Institute of Public Administration have signed an MOU for setting up of National Institute of Tribal Research in the national capital. Tribal freedom fighters museums will also be set up to give due recognition to the sacrifice and contribution of tribal people in the freedom struggle. Divakar, AR News, Delhi.
Union Home Secretary Ajay Bhalla has cautioned the Tamil Nadu Chief Secretary Shanmugam on the issue of removing the restrictions and allowing 100% seating capacity in movie theatres. In a letter today, the Home Secretary has referred to the guidelines for surveillance containment and caution order issued by the centre. He said that the state cannot dilute the 50% of seating capacity regulation issued earlier by the centre. Just 2 days before the Tamil Nadu government had relaxed the restrictions of the 50% seating capacity and allowed 100% capacity in movie theatres. This is All India Radio giving you the news. For quick news updates around the clock, follow us on Twitter at AIR News Alerts.
In Georgia, Democrat Raphael Warnock has defeated Republican Kelly Loeffler in one of two Georgia Senate runoffs. Senior pastor at the Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta, Warnock, will be Georgia's first black senator. The other U.S. Senate runoff between Republican Party Senator David Perdue and Democrat John Ossoff is still too early to call. The experts said if Democrats win both runoffs, the Senate will be divided evenly between 50 Democrats and 50 Republicans, leaving Vice President Harris at the tiebreaker and giving Democrats the majority. If Perdue wins re-elections in other Georgia runoffs, the Senate will remain in Republican hands. Republican Senator Josh Hawley today pledged to challenge Democrat President-elect Joe Biden's victory when Congress convenes to officially tally the electoral votes, which could trigger a lengthy debate in the Senate but reportedly has no chance of overturning the results.
External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar has said that India and Sri Lanka are now looking forward to post-COVID cooperation. Speaking at a joint media briefing with his Sri Lankan counterpart, Dinesh Gunawardena, in Colombo today, the External Affairs Minister said the COVID pandemic has given the two sides an opportunity to collaborate even further. Dr. Jaishankar is on a 3-day visit to Sri Lanka. He highlighted that both the neighbors are now facing immediate challenges of post-COVID recovery. The External Affairs Minister also spoke on the need to ensure aspirations of the minority Tamils are addressed within a united Sri Lanka.
Our support for the reconciliation process in Sri Lanka is long-standing, as indeed for an inclusive political outlook that encourages ethnic harmony. It is in Sri Lanka's own interest that the expectations of the Tamil people for equality, justice, peace and dignity within a united Sri Lanka are fulfilled. That applies equally to the commitments made by the Sri Lankan government on meaningful devolution, including the 13th Amendment of the Constitution. The progress and prosperity of Sri Lanka will surely be advanced as a consequence.
In cricket, India to take on Australia in the third test in Sydney tomorrow. The match is scheduled to begin at 5 a.m. IST. All India Radio will broadcast live commentary of the match from 4:55 hours to 12 hours or till the end of the match. Rohit Sharma will open the batting with Shubman Gill and young Navdeep Saini will make his debut. Rohit's inclusion means Mayank Agarwal has to sit out after he failed to score in the first two tests. Saini, on the other hand, has replaced Umesh Yadav in India's playing 11. First test was won by Australia and the second by India.
The Republic Day parade this year on 26th of January will be held following all necessary COVID-19 preventive protocols. The conduct of the parade will be similar to last year and special emphasis has been laid on factoring in social distancing in all activities. Our correspondent reports that this year, parade will culminate at the National Stadium in place of Red Fort as earlier.
This year, there will be 25,000 seats for Republic Day parade as against 1,15,000. There will be 4,000 seats for Beating the Retreat Ceremony 2021 as against 25,000 earlier. Against 38 enclosures in 2020, there will be 22 enclosures during Republic Day parade this year. For general public, there will be 7,500 seats to witness the parade. Out of this, 3,000 invitees through Ministry of Home Affairs, while 4,500 through sale of tickets. During the parade, children only above 15 years of age are allowed. Number of entry gates for the Republic Day parade has been increased from 198 to 224 with queue and place markers to facilitate easy access and queue avoidance. While number of entry gates for Beating the Retreat Ceremony this year also increased from 11 to 20. This year, there will be no park and ride scheme in view of less invitees. No standing spectators will be allowed and all will be seated. With Dipendra Kumar, Anupam Mishra, AR News, Delhi.
Now let us take a look at the weather forecast for tomorrow. The national capital will have dense fog. The city will observe minimum temperature of around 8 degrees Celsius and a maximum of around 19 degrees. Srinagar to have partly cloudy sky becoming generally cloudy towards afternoon or evening or night. Temperature will hover between -1 degree Celsius and 7 degrees. Muzaffarabad will have partly cloudy sky becoming generally cloudy towards afternoon or evening or night. And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi holds video teleconference with his German counterpart Angela Merkel. Countrywide COVID-19 vaccine dry run to be held on Friday. Centre sends multidisciplinary experts team to Kerala and Haryana to oversee avian influenza containment operations. Control room set up in New Delhi. Country's COVID-19 recovery rate reaches 96.36%. Democrat Raphael Warnock wins first runoff election from Georgia. Control of U.S. Senate hangs in balance. And with that, we end the evening news. Good night.